In terms of the structure for today, so we're going to be hearing from our alumni. We've got a couple of past mentors and a couple of past mentees from both retailers and from manufacturers who are going to be talking to you today. So we're going to have a brief introduction, their experiences in the past, some top tips to really help you out, and some challenges that they might have faced over the years and how they dealt with it. And then we're going to move on to the main part of the show, which is our Q&A. And that's where we hear from you. And that can either be you personally speaking to our presenters or just adding questions into the chat box, and we can get through as many as possible. Okay, so let's get started. So this is our group. So we are very fortunate today to have Stacey Squire from L'Oreal, Chris Tilley from Asda, Luke Pattinson from Premier Foods, and Melanie Graham from Coca-Cola. So let's move straight over to our speakers today. I think we're actually going to start with Stacey. She's first on my list here. So Stacey, do you want to briefly introduce yourself? Tell us about your experience and your top tips and challenges and how you dealt with them.
Okay, no problem. Morning, everybody. Hope you're having a nice day, although the sun's gone in by the look of it, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. So who am I? I'm Stacey Squire. I'm a distribution centre manager for L'Oreal. I've been with L'Oreal for 8 years, and prior to that, worked for 2 other blue chip companies. I think the long and short of it is I've been leading large teams for about 25 years, so I have quite a broad experience of people leadership. In terms of top tips, I've been on this scheme as a mentor for 3 years, but as I say, have had a large team for a lot of years. So this has been an added benefit really for me as a mentor. I've really enjoyed the role. If I was to talk about top tips, my approach, I'm quite a reflective leader. So certainly in the introduction meeting, my view is to let the mentee lead. They often come on with lots and lots of things that they've got in their head. Definitely listening in the first session, letting them talk and really trying to understand what makes them tick, what they feel their challenges are, and understanding whether their challenges are what they think they are. Trying to encourage them to give you a full picture as well. And actually in the past, things from home have impacted their work. So if people want to share that, I've been quite comfortable with that. It's really important for me that, and I'm a problem solver, so I really have to hold back and not jump in and offer problem solving techniques immediately. And then I think what I tend to do is reflect on what they've talked about and then offer any elements that can start them off in the right direction. So if it's an empowerment issue, a confidence issue, looking at my experience to see where I can start that off. So first session is really just learning about them. And I'm also really keen to make sure I don't get into an action plan mode, because I think that's quite scary and they've already got a full-time job. So it's really about a two-way conversation and helping them unravel things. In terms of challenges that I've had, to be fair, my mentees have been amazing. All 3 of them have done really well as an outcome. I think my challenges are more inwardly, and my anxiety to start off with when I'm meeting someone for the first time. Will I be able to offer them anything? And it's my own personal uncertainty. But I think what you have to do is remember I have got a lot of experience, and they want insights, not answers, to allow them to go away, breathe and reflect on what you're saying. And the biggest thing about being a mentor is having a new perspective, because you're an outsider. So I wouldn't say any particular challenges other than me sort of questioning myself throughout it. But so far I've only got really positive things to say about the scheme. Thank you.
Fantastic. That's really good, Stacey. Thank you. I'm so pleased that you've had some really positive experiences, and I'm sure your mentees over the years could also vouch for that. Chris, should we now move over to you? Let's hear from you.
Morning, everyone. So I'm the general manager of the Asda Chill Distribution Centre down in Avonmouth in Bristol. I've worked for Asda for 20 years. 6 of them have been in logistics, 14 of them have been out in the shops. And before that, I worked for Sainsbury's for 11 years. I've been a mentee, so I've done kind of sort of formal coach in the box, those types of things. And I think that was quite good because that gave me some of the skills to help me when I moved into kind of sort of mentoring. I've done various levels of mentoring. So I've mentored kind of sort of junior managers and colleagues wanting to step into kind of sort of manager positions. And I've mentored people kind of sort of higher up. Some of them have been through the IGD. I've done it for a couple of years. Some of them I've just done literally by helping people that have wanted to develop within the kind of sort of current format. In terms of top tips, make it personal, get to know a little bit about them, I think is really important, so that you can keep that rapport going and build the relationship from kind of sort of the off. Some of it's about taking them to places that they wouldn't normally go on their own. I think we hear that kind of sort of referenced. So, you know, your job is to just kind of sort of poke, prod a little bit and kind of sort of take them into spaces that they wouldn't naturally want to go to. Another tip that I found quite useful was using some of the documents that they had that were supporting their personal development. So, you know, Belbin's colours, Thomas International profiles, those types of things, because that can give you some insights in terms of some of the things that they're working on and developing on. And obviously, if they've got an IDP that they share with you or a PDP or whatever, then that can help as well. Challenges, look, we're all busy people. I get that fully. But if you're going to do this, then you've really got to commit to it from both sides. So from a mentee perspective, it is really important that you push your mentor to get the time. But whilst we kind of sort of say that the mentor shouldn't have to chase it that much, if you're going to get out of it as a mentor as well, then I think sometimes you will need to do just that little bit of pushing along to make sure that you get the time to do it. Because as a mentor, you gain out of it as well, because it helps you to get some skills that you can use with your teams that you're working with on a day-to-day basis. And then I guess just expect the unexpected. So, you know, mentoring, sometimes they'll kind of sort of pose a problem or something, and you might look at it and it might catch you a little bit by surprise. You don't have to solve it all there and then. You don't have to answer it all there and then. If you need to, go away, take a little bit of time, have a little bit of a think, and then build it back into the kind of sort of next mentor session. And that would be it from me. Thank you, Robin.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chris. Over to Luke. Let's hear about your experiences for mentoring.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. My name's Luke Pattinson. I'm operations manager for the Premier Foods Group down at a factory in Ashford in Kent. I've been here for nearly 2 years in this role, and up to now I worked for Unilever for 6 or 7 years across the UK in various manufacturing and supply chain planning roles. In terms of my experience of mentoring, I've been in this program now for a couple of years. So I've been mentored by 2 separate people over the last 2 years. And I found it to be a really, really positive experience, I would say. In terms of what I ended up using it for, first and foremost, I was lucky enough to build a really good rapport with my 2 mentors, such that it became a less formal experience. And we ended up just chatting really about our mutual experiences for the first 10 or 20 minutes of each discussion we had. And that ended up segueing into wider, deeper topics about what we were trying to achieve, you know, with our teams. My first mentor from last year, who I have to say was exceptionally good. We ended up talking a lot about how she was building a winning team culture, you know, in her direct team, what were the challenges she was having, and how she was approaching it. And I found that there were a lot of similarities actually with my team, and therefore we ended up talking in a lot of depth about, you know, mutually how we were going to try and achieve that, which was really, really positive. In terms of how to approach it and what my tips would be as somebody to be mentored, I personally made the choice to send over my CV to my new mentors before my first meeting, just to try and give them something, to a little picture of me to latch onto and, you know, try and break the ice a bit. And they can ask me some questions about myself and my past, just to set that up. In terms of me personally, what I would almost advise myself if I was doing this again is to not put too much pressure on that first meeting. I was almost so anxious to give, you know, an overly positive, organized impression of myself, that I probably wasn't my proper self for at least the first half of the first meeting. It wasn't until I relaxed a bit and I told my mentor about really who I was, my past, both personally and professionally, and also being open and honest about my challenges, and then sat back and listened to them for a while. I relaxed a bit and then started to ask better questions, and from there we just developed the conversation. So don't put too much pressure on that first meeting. Just spend it getting to know each other and trying to find an more informal, less stilted kind of relationship. And in my experience, from that, good things will come.
Fantastic. Some great tips there, Luke. And last but by no means least, Melanie from Coca-Cola.
Hello everyone, I hope you're having a good day. So my name's Melanie Graham and I work for Coca-Cola Euro-Pacific Partners. So I'm currently, actually, although it says I'm transport coordinator, one of the results of my mentoring last year was that I applied for a secondment position and was successful in getting that secondment position as a transport shift manager. I guess from me, one of the main things that I wanted to get out of the kind of mentor relationship was to develop my confidence skills, to develop my leadership skills, and to really work on things that would make me a good people manager, to enable me to be successful in a people management position. And I think that the fact that I was successful in getting the position will give you an indication as to how well that mentor-mentee relationship went. So top tips from me, I guess, you get out of it what you put into it. So as a mentee, you need to think about what it is that you want to achieve from the relationship, because ultimately you have to drive that, and you have to be the person that sort of is responsible for your own kind of development. Your mentor will massively help, and mine has, in terms of skills, but you have to kind of decide what skills it is that you really want to focus on. And in terms of challenges, I think for everybody, you're obviously trying to do this aside managing a full-time job, which means that getting that time can be really, really difficult. But I think it's just really important to make sure that you do recognize the value of that time as much as if it were an hour's operational time, because in terms of your own personal development, it is really, really vital to kind of give that time and give that focus. That's sort of it from me.
Fantastic, and congratulations on your promotion. I'm sorry
Thank
I've
you.
undersold you in the slides here. So our timing is impeccable, so I'm very thankful for that. We've got some really great tips. So we now come to our Q&A session. This is all down to you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see you all. And you can either put a question in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and you can ask the questions directly to our speakers. But this section is now all down to you. So please, if you do have any questions, please raise your hands, put them in the chat box, and we'll go from there. So who would like to start us off? You should all be able to unmute yourself as well if need be. Now, do I see the silence because people can't unmute themselves, or did our speakers actually do such a good job that every possible question that you had has been answered, and you're all raring to go to either get on the phones to your mentees or get on the phones, for both ways, because as Chris said, as a mentor, you don't necessarily need to wait. You can get the ball rolling as well. And you've all got your CV sorted because Luke sent his through, which I think is a really good idea. And I'm just really pleased that And I'm just really pleased that Mel's actually been able to get an internal job promotion because her mentor did such a great job in giving her this to help her with the skills that she probably already had anyway, but just to bring them out. We've got a question, so thank you, Vicky. Okay, so this goes out to everybody. How often should you be meeting with your mentees or mentors, and what would you recommend? So anybody want to take that one?
Hi, Robin. I think the program says that you that the guidance is kind of sort of 4 times, isn't it? But I really think it depends in terms of what you're getting out of it and how that relationship is working. You can meet as much as you want. You know, if you're getting on well and you're getting a lot out of it, and your mentor's got the time and you've got the time to give to it, then you know you could have a session a month. I think, to me, you agree that and work that together in terms of what suits for you.
And that's definitely what we what we've said back in the during the induction webinar. I don't know if you've had a chance to check the recording, you're able to attend, that we do say like 3-4 sessions is absolutely fine, but we have had people who have had like 9-10 sessions. It's just what works best for you, and it's down to you, to your partnership, to decide. I've got a question from Peter's raised his hand. So Peter, if you'd like to ask your question.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Yeah, so just from my point of view, it's my first year as a mentee. Never done anything like this before, and I've just kind of fully embraced it, thrown myself at it. So I've kind of got no questions at this point, but just to break the silence to say, really benefiting from it so far. It's put a completely different spin on the way I look at things. I've been kind of quite insular in the FMCG world, worked in the same business for 8 years, so opening to my eyes as to what my career and life path should be. And I think I benefited from having a really good mentor as well. We've met twice already. And we've committed to monthly as a minimum at the moment. And like I say, it's going really, really well. So just to kind of break the silence, not a question as such, but just a point of how I'm embracing it because I want to get as much out of it as possible.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, thank you for that comment, Peter. I'm really pleased that your first mentoring experience is a positive one. All right, so we do have some questions. What are the mentor's thoughts on best ways to structure the first couple of sessions in terms of content and direction? What has worked and what has not?
I'm happy to answer. Well, I can share what I've done. So I find that the mentee is quite, it's got a lot on their plate in that first meeting because they're anxious, nervous, they've got a lot to share. So how I tend to approach that is let them sort of speak, tell them a bit about me as well, and try to break the ice a little bit. And then actually the first one's not really about creating the objectives or development pointers, but what I've tended to do is follow up in an email, because even though you're talking, sometimes when people are in that sort of heightened state, they're not listening. Or can't listen because they've got so much on the plate. So what I tend to do is follow up with an email to say, these are the things that I think we highlighted, and these are the things I'd probably ask you to reflect on for the next 6 weeks until we meet again. And then actually, I found that the second meetings, the mentee is in a much clearer frame of mind and has had time to reflect on perhaps some pointers that they can build on, which allows you to sort of create a joined up objective plan together. And when I say plan, not necessarily written down, just something that we can work towards. But I always follow with an email because I feel that it's that's my role to give to them, to allow them to have something to cast their mind back over and have a look at. But that kind of works for me.
That's a really good point. Over here, somebody, we've got a question here from Camille. She's had her first meeting with her mentor. She's got some really useful advice and guidance. Next session's in a week's time. She's a little bit stuck on the agenda as a lot was covered in the first session. Do you have any tips? Are there any probing points that can help structure the meetings?
So I'm happy on that one as well. I think there's a likelihood for people to want to get into objectives. I've done what you've asked me to do. I think what I would do is keep those same, so the things that you discussed in the first meeting, it's a progress update, and then actually a build on that. Is there anything else? Did that sort of iron out some of your concerns, or Is that put you in a better place? And then actually what happens is you find that very organically you prioritize the ones that are working for you, because actually as a mentor I can give you lots of helpful tips, but they don't work for everybody. Everybody works differently. So don't be too anxious about it. Just let it organically evolve. It doesn't need an agenda, and it's a discussion and how you're getting on kind of chat, and something will come out of it. That's from my point of view. I don't know whether anyone else wants to add.
I think that's really good advice, Stacey, just talking about sort of from the other side, from the mentee side. Yeah, it's definitely about just having an open, relaxed discussion and sharing your, past and present experiences in the first session, and getting to that point of relaxation, I would say, to the point where, yeah, the natural points of discussion come to the surface themselves. And then, you pick them out and you decide to kind of cover off one or two in a bit more depth in the next session. Otherwise, yeah, you almost, I think as a mentee, I almost was over organizing my own brain, trying to tell myself what I should be learning, as opposed to just letting it flow and listen.
One of the things, Robin, that I think's really good about this program is the way that you pair people up. So, you are working with people that don't know you, that have no connection from you, will not judge you, or any of those things. So if you're going to get the most out of it, then I think you need to be really honest with what it is that you think you need to work on, because no one's going to take that back to your current business or what have you. So if someone's given you some feedback in the past, perhaps that you've not understood or you've not liked, or you've been told to get to the next level, I think you need to do this, and you're not sure what it is, don't be frightened to tell your mentor about that, or shy, or whatever it is, because you can then work through some solutions with it. So self-awareness and honesty, to me, are really, really important as part of those sessions.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And we do spend a lot of time on the pairing process, just to try and so we can ensure that we get the best possible outcome from it. Because there's no point pairing two people who've got nothing in common, there's no connection whatsoever, and ultimately the partnership's not going to work, because we don't want that. And it does take about 10 hours to get the pairing sorted. So it's quite a lengthy process. Someone here said, Madeline Witter, do we need to record what is discussed within the meetings? I can answer that one. I think it all comes down to the individual. Some people would like the recording so they can kind of reflect afterwards on what's been said. Other people may be more than happy to just jot comments down. Sometimes the mentor may be taking notes themselves and just send an email through afterwards, as Stacey mentioned earlier. So it's just something to discuss in one of your earlier meetings. Right, where's that one? Okay, just going through, here we go. Is there anything that needs to be or should be done differently to get the best experience for both parties with a virtual mentorship rather than face-to-face? I don't know if you've had experience over the years on both, in virtual and face-to-face. Just see if there is anything that should be done differently.
I've done face-to-face. I've done face-to-face and I've done virtual, and it is great to be in the room with people. We all like to do that, but I think across the last 14 months, we've all learnt to operate meetings differently, remotely. Really, it shouldn't change what you do. The format of it is very much the same. It's just the fact that you are doing it via computer rather than sat in the same room as the person.
Yeah, I've done both, and I would agree. And I think it makes it a lot more convenient as well, because part of the issue is just getting together. So actually being virtual for me is an added bonus, really. But I think it just depends on you. But the conversations are not any different from how I've handled it.
And you've got that total flexibility as well. Sorry, Mel, you can say.
It's all right. I was just going to say, from a virtual point of view, again, around that time management thing, that if you are doing it virtually and it is a day when you're in work, I would entirely suggest that you mute everything else that is going on in the background, so that you can give it your focus and you're not being pulled off into the day-to-day operations, because that that can sort of compromise the quality of the conversation that you're having if you are getting pulled off in 5 different directions. So that was the only thing that I was going to say.
Yeah, so no need for double screening then on these on your sessions, which I hope none of you are doing that right now, of course. We've actually answered all the questions that are in the chat. We do have a few minutes left, so if anybody does have any questions or comments about the program, now is the time to ask.
Hi, Robin. I've got a question, if that's okay.
Yes.
Yes, hello, everyone. My name is Maria, and I work for L'Oreal. Hi, Stacey. And yes, so I was assigned as a mentor, and I had my first session with my mentee, and that was really enjoyable. I really enjoy, discussing ideas, careers, and etc. And it's really great opportunity to be talking to someone outside my corporation. But then it was actually also a reflection for me. I realized by talking to my mentee that the area of development that he's aiming it's something that I'm also on that journey. So this more specifically is like thinking of leadership skills and management skills. And we do have different styles, and our teams, they are different. So when we discuss, it's interesting because the experiences that I go through, I can tell he reflects because it's different. And what he says about, his experience and his team also makes me reflect. But I realize, I'm in a mentor position, but I'm discussing something that I'm also on a development journey. So I don't know, you guys as mentors, that you have come across this kind of situation where you are in a position where you should be providing guidance. I understand we are not, as mentors, not expect to provide any solutions and etc. But that is kind of challenging for me as well. So I don't know if you have faced this, and then if you have any advice, when your mentee area of development is also that something that you are also on that journey.
Maria, I guess, have you got a mentor yourself, or have you got a line manager that's helping you with working through that? Because a lot of the things that potentially they're discussing with you would be things that potentially you can then discuss with your mentee, perhaps?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I don't have any formal mentoring for myself. I do discuss a lot career in L'Oreal with the senior people, for sure. Like I have informal catch-ups, coffee, because it's something that I'm very interested and keen. Yeah, maybe that's if I could actually structure for myself and get a formal mentor.
I think it's, I'm just trying to think, I've not come across it, but as I say, from a leadership point of view, I've been in a leadership role for many, many years, but also try not to reflect inwards of what your gaps are, because you've still got lots of experience to build on. And actually the relationship you've got, as long as your mentee is happy with you as well, then you're both gaining from this relationship. So it's not that I don't have all the answers. And certainly in that first meeting, I immediately go into, what if I can't answer what they're asking me? But actually, if you evolve organically, you will find ways together, and you'll probably, and this is the thing for me, it's not a one-way relationship. I get a lot out of the process as well. And even if it's as simple as learning how another business approaches things, because nobody does things the way we do things in L'Oreal. Yeah, try not to focus on what you don't know, but what you can evolve together. And yeah, Chris's point is great that there are mentors as well to help you, but it's kind of putting that to sleep and saying, well, what is the experience that I can help them with, and try and focus on the things that you can drive. But it's a two-way thing, and you'll both benefit as long as there's that happy sort of agreement between the both of you, really.
Thank you.
I hope that answered that question there. Well, it is actually 11:31, so that now brings us to the end of our session. I really hope that you found this beneficial. From my perspective, the speakers did a fantastic job, and there were some really great tips in there. So I really hope that helps to keep your keep the momentum going for your mentoring sessions and to really get the best out of it. Thank you everybody for taking the time out of your busy days to come here today. And please, if you have any further questions, any other comments on the mentoring program, just drop me an email. I'll be more than happy to help you out.